Help us celebrate today by sharing your stories and photos with hashtag #NewUSCitizen via Twitter and Instagram. Information is also viewed in the program. Reminder, no flash photography is allowed at the National Archives.
All those having business before the Honorable Burl A. Howell, Chief Judge of the United States District Court, in and for the District of Columbia, now holding these naturalization ceremonies. Will draw nigh and get their attention. God save the United States of America and this Honorable Court. Please remain standing for the presentation of the colors, playing of the national anthem, and the retirement of the colors. Please be seated and come to order. This Honorable Court is now in session.
Please welcome the Honorable Beryl A. Howell, Chief Judge, U.S. District of Columbia.
Good morning, everyone. I know this is a very memorable day for all of you becoming new citizens today, and it is very much my privilege and pleasure to be presiding over the ceremony this morning. The ceremony began with the Armed Forces Color Guard presenting the nation's flag and the flags of the different branches of our U.S. military so we could show our pride in our country and the military servicemen and women who protect its security. The flag is an important symbol, and we are fortunate to stand in the rotunda of the National Archives next to the foundational documents that gave meaning to that flag and to our country. Our Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights rest under glass here. Their goals, their ideals, and their framework live on vigorously to guide our country. When the framers signed our Constitution on September 17th in 1787, they recognized that this country would grow and flourish with new immigrants becoming new citizens and setting down their roots here. They reserved to the newly formed federal government the power, and I quote, to establish an uniform rule of naturalization. That's in our Constitution in Article 1. The importance of naturalized citizens is also recognized in the post-Civil War 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which states expressly that persons naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States. To commemorate the day that the Constitution was signed, every September 17th has been named Constitution Day, with the week surrounding it named Constitution Week. So by your action today of becoming naturalized U.S. citizens, you are fulfilling a vision of America laid out almost 300 years ago. In fact, most Americans in this country are here because their parents, their grandparents, or their more distant relatives, in my case, my great-grandparents, made the courageous choice that each of you has made to leave the countries where you were born, where you grew up, where you know the language, where you have family, where you have friends, and follow your dreams to this new country. People come to America for many different reasons. Some leave the countries of their birth in order to escape difficult situations or even war. But all who come here aspire to build better lives for themselves and, importantly, for their children. It is just thrilling to see the number of countries from which you all have come. After the ceremony is concluded, we will have new citizens from over 20 countries, including Ethiopia, Egypt, El Salvador, and Australia. There are just too many to name. America truly is a great melting pot, and we are all enriched and better for it, no matter where you came from. Today, each of you, after the ceremony is concluded and you've taken your oath of allegiance, will be able to say that you are an American citizen. As citizens, we have rights that are protected under our Constitution and enforced, if necessary, in courts around the country presided over by federal judges like me. You have the right to practice your faith or not follow any religion at all if you do not want to. You have the right to speak freely about matters that you care about and the right to privacy in your home. And as citizens, you are all equal in fundamental rights, equal before the law and in the courts in our country, and you have an equal share in the freedom to pursue your own version of happiness. Of course, our Constitution does not guarantee you will find happiness, but the founders of the nation intended in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution to design a form of government where you are free to try. Now, as citizens, you not only have rights, you also have duties and responsibilities. And as new citizens, I hope you make 3 choices about your lives here as new American citizens. First, I hope you choose to be involved. We are a self-governing people, and self-government works best when citizens are involved and informed. You should listen to the news and seek to inform yourselves. An educated citizenry is essential to the continuation of a self-governing country. Your children and grandchildren will learn the duties of citizenship by watching you. When you go to vote, take your children with you to see how you do it. We have elections every 2 years, and coming up, a presidential election that happens every 4 years. Watch the debates among the candidates and talk to your children about what you hear. Teach them through your action that not only are we free to complain about our political leaders, we can vote to change them or to keep them. The United States may not be perfect, but we have a very powerful tool in the voting booth to make improvements. I hope you also make a second choice. Choose to make a positive contribution to the community in which you live. We expect every citizen of the United States to be law-abiding, but as citizens, expect more from yourselves than that. We may not all be able to perform public service at the level of our next speakers, the archivist, David Ferriero, or former Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, but we can all do our part, whether it's picking up litter, helping a neighbor, or volunteering in a school. Finally, I hope you also choose to share your stories. Many Americans take their citizenship for granted. By telling your story about why you chose to come here and become a citizen and what you went through to get here, helps your fellow Americans appreciate what we have in our country. Plus, America is a richer place because of your stories and the cultural experiences that you bring here. America's strength truly is the diversity of its people. So please choose to be involved, choose to make a positive contribution to your community, and choose to tell your stories. By your conduct and your qualifications and actions here this morning, you've each earned your rightful place to be called an American citizen. So I will congratulate you early on before the oath has been administered at your presence here. Now, you're going to hear later, as I mentioned, from two speakers. But now I recognize Cheryl Horn, who's the Public Operations Administrator for the United States District Court, where I'm the Chief Judge. And she's going to introduce those persons seeking to become new citizens. Ms. Horn?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, when your name is called, please stand and remain standing. Janet Horaz Flores, Colombia. Just stand right where you are and answer here or present. Inez Virginia Boskin, Venezuela. Stefana Klepa, Croatia. Anu Gupta Chopra, India. Wild yourself, Mikhail, Egypt. Indy Joni, Albania. Answer here or present. Priska Chineri, Walozi, Nigeria. Travis Orion Lawson James, Antigua. Mary Sylvia Mejia, El Salvador. Miroslav Stablo, Czech Republic. Shivartan Maniam, India. Rebelio Antonio Tinas, Guatemala. Tarika Binyani, Ethiopia. Saif Abraham, Iraq. Jeffrey Long Silver, United Kingdom. Haymanat Yalu, Ethiopia. Yagalam Abtalasi, Eritrea. Alma Rosa Navarro, Panama. Madonna Lashonda Smith, Antigua. Rosalandic Monoblav, Kyrgyzstan. Aminata Ja'ara, Mali. Safiatu Bangura, Sierra Leone. Hala Abdallah Badawi, Egypt. Syed Jamesma, Afghanistan. Milagros Mejia Andrade, El Salvador. Ana Velasquez Gonzalez, El Salvador. Michelle Fernandez Perez, Cuba. Your Honor, there are 28 applicants for naturalization, and each of the applicants have been examined by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, and the government has completed its investigation in each case. It has been determined that each applicant is eligible for naturalization at this time. And I move that upon taking the oath of allegiance to the United States of America, each applicant present having answered to his or her name, to include those prayers for name change, be granted naturalization as citizens of the United States of America.
All right, so all of you new citizens, please raise your right hand and repeat the oath of allegiance after me. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Congratulations to each of our new citizens. You may be seated. Ms. Warren, will you now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
The Civic Renewal Network is an alliance of 26 organizations dedicated to raising the visibility of civics education and providing free, high-quality resources for teachers and classes. Partner organizations include the National Archives and Records Administration, the Annenberg Public Policy Center, the Library of Congress, the National Constitution Center, National History Day, the NIH Enticement Project, the Newseum, Rock the Vote, and the U.S. Courts. We welcome representatives of Cardozo Education Campus from the District of Columbia to read the preamble.
We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Thank you to the Civic Renewal Network, and let's give another round of applause to these students. Please welcome to the stage the Archivist of the United States, the Honorable David S. Ferriero.
Good morning, and welcome to the rotunda of the National Archives. First and foremost, congratulations to our 28 new citizens, and it's an honor to have former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright here to join us to celebrate your American citizenship. And a special thank you to Judge Beryl Howell for presiding at her first National Archives Naturalization Ceremony today. Welcome. The National Archives is proud to host the Naturalization Ceremony with the Department of Homeland Security, United States Citizen and Immigration Services, and the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. There's no better place to become an American citizen than here in front of the Charters of Freedom. Behind me is the Constitution, which is the basis on which the U.S. government is structured. The preamble, which the students just recited, contains three important words: we, the people. That brief phrase captures the essence of our democracy. The Constitution gives the power to the people. Over to my right is the Declaration of Independence, the parchment that our founding fathers signed in 1776 in Philadelphia, setting us free from England. It took courage for them to sign it. They risked their lives, their families' lives, and all they owned. We have them to thank for the freedoms we enjoy today. And to my left is the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. These first 10 spell out our basic personal rights and freedoms that are guaranteed to every American. This now includes you. They include freedom of speech, religion, and the press, the right to petition the government, the right to bear arms, and the right to due process of law and a speedy and fair trial. You will exercise these rights every day. These documents, these charters of freedom, make up our foundation as U.S. citizens. I'm the grandson of Italian immigrants and great-grandson of Irish immigrants. Using passenger lists here at the National Archives, I discovered that my grandfather, at age 15, arrived in Boston from Naples aboard the ship Commonwealth on March 22, 1903. And my grandmother, Antonia Giorgio, also from Naples, arrived on March 8, 1909, aboard the Romantic. Many Americans have stories like mine, and now you, our newly naturalized citizens, will have your own journey to share. We have over 13 billion pages of records here at the National Archives. Becoming American citizens make you part of the National Archives, too. Your naturalization records will be part of our holdings, and someday your descendants will search the records to discover your history. Here at the National Archives, history comes to life through our records. We house the tangible reminders of where we have been, how far we have come, and what is possible for each and every American. Each record, large or small, is a representation of a greater story. The National Archives tells everyone's story, so congratulations and welcome as new citizens. We're honored today to have a very special public servant to address you this morning. Madeleine Albright served as the 64th Secretary of State of the United States. In 1997, she was named the first female Secretary of State and became, at that time, the highest-ranking woman in the history of the U.S. government. From 1993 to 97, Dr. Albright served as the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations and was a member of the President's Cabinet. She's a professor in the practice of diplomacy at Georgetown University School of Foreign Service and chairs the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs. She's also president of the Truman Scholarship Foundation and a member of an advisory board, the U.S. Defense Department's Defense Policy Board. In 2012, she was chosen by President Obama to receive the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Please welcome Secretary Albright.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chief Judge Howell, Your Honor, and fellow citizens, good morning. I want to begin by expressing my appreciation to the National Archives and Records Administration, the students from Cardozo who led us in reciting the preamble, and to all those responsible for this magnificent event. But I especially want to greet those of you who have just become citizens of the United States of America. If you're anything like me, today is a milestone that you will look back upon with pride for the rest of your lives. I say that because I too am an immigrant, and I brought my sister with me, who is much younger. My family arrived on these shores when I was 11 years old. Our native Czechoslovakia had been taken over by communists who didn't believe in democracy or human rights. We no longer had a home, but because of my father's job at the United Nations, we had the chance to come here to America. So, like countless others before and since, we sought refuge here in the United States, taking passage on the SS America that steamed around the Statue of Liberty into New York Harbor. I remember being very excited, but also a little bit scared, because I didn't know how I would be received in this new land. I worried that the differences in the way I spoke, I have a very British accent at the time, and acted would leave me in America, but not really a part of it. I didn't know whether after leaving my old home, I could truly find another one. I should not have been concerned. At its best, this country's embrace is as wide as our continent is broad. It welcomed our family with open arms and gave us the chance to make new friends and to build new lives in freedom. For this opportunity, I will always be grateful. And when people ask me what's the most important thing that ever happened in my life, it's becoming an American. That, very briefly, is my story, that every immigrant and refugee has a story. You, the citizens we welcome today, are of different races and ages and genders and faiths. You've come from countries as far away as Afghanistan and as nearby as Cuba, as large as Nigeria and as small as Antigua. As a group, you have traveled different paths from lands of your birth to this splendid rotunda, and you are known by names that vary in spelling and accent, names such as Chopra and Alvarado, Moabayev and Manayam, but also James and Smith. The diversity of this group reminds me of when I was Secretary of State. I would visit our service members stationed overseas, and today we have now spoken a number of times about the great armed services that protect us. And I always made a point of looking at the names that our servicemen had, and they represented all kinds of names and backgrounds, and really were the image of America. But each of these names belonged to an American, and as of today, so do yours. Going forward, each of you now has a chance to add your own chapters to the saga of our land, which is above all the story of immigrants. There are some who resent all this and who think that the day after they arrived is the day that the door to America should have swung shut. Let us pray that that time never comes. For our nation cannot stand still. We need the vitality and renewal that comes with fresh energy and ideas, and that is where you all come in. As new citizens, you accept a solemn responsibility, not only to live in our democracy, but to participate in it, to help build stronger communities, to educate yourselves about issues of public concern, to vote and to serve on juries, to defend our nation against its foes, to look out for your neighbors, and to observe without fail the Constitution and laws of our land, as our judge told us. All this matters because the America of tomorrow will only be as vibrant as we citizens make it. The United States has a proud past, but its future depends on all of us. Here in this room reside the documents which many view as historical artifacts, but which in fact set out the timeless ideas that still shape our country's destiny and make it great. And I hope you'll have a chance to really take a look at them. Because these documents include the ideas that all men and women are created equal, as well as its corollary that the power to govern must be derived from the people. This conception of democracy had its origins hundreds of years ago, but it remains the most powerful engine of human progress on the face of the globe. I've heard it said before, but I will say it again. Only in this country could a daughter of a Czechoslovak refugee become Secretary of State, and only here the son of an African exchange student rise to the highest office in the land. My fellow citizens, I leave you with just one bit of advice. When you return home, do what I did. Put your naturalization certificate in the safest and most secure place you can find. It is the most important piece of paper you will ever get. It represents not just a change in legal status, but a license to dream. Because of this ceremony, America will be even better tomorrow than it was yesterday. For our country, that is a cause of celebration. For you, it is both a challenge and a priceless opportunity. So congratulations once more, and thank you so much for allowing me to join you here today, because as you took your oath, I renewed mine. It is my honor to be with all of you today.
Thank you, Secretary Albright.
I join the archivists, David Ferrio and Secretary Madeleine Albright, in welcoming our newest citizens, and thank you very much for your inspiring words, both of you. I'd also like to thank the students from the Cardozo Education Campus for participating in our proceedings this morning and getting a little bit of experiential civics lesson as part of your day today. Your contribution to the ceremony has made it that more special, so thank you. The court now recognizes Mr. Bryant Johnson to close today's proceedings.
The ceremony is honorable court is now adjourned.
Now Ms. Horn is going to give the certificates to each of the immigrants, and we will be able to congratulate you all individually.
I got you. Follow me.
What name of existence?
This concludes today's naturalization ceremony. Exit the rotunda stage left as staff is placed to guide you out the building via the reception. To see photos of today's event, please visit www.flickr.com/archivesnews/. This information can be viewed in the program. Please follow our volunteers to the reception area.